Traction, Get a Grip on Your Business, by Gino Wickman. Introduction. An entrepreneur slips and falls off the edge of a cliff. On his way down, 1,000 feet from the top and 1,000 feet from the bottom, he manages to grab onto a single, dangling vine. He's hanging there, his hands burning, his heart pounding in his chest. His situation seems utterly hopeless. So he looks up to the clouds and, for the first time in his life, he decides to pray. "Is anybody up there?" he shouts. After a long, echoing silence, a deep, powerful voice booms down from the heavens. "Do you believe?" The entrepreneur, with tears of relief in his eyes, yells back, "Yes, yes, I believe." "Then let go of the vine," the voice commands. The entrepreneur pauses for a moment, looks down at the 1,000-foot drop, then looks back up to the sky and finally responds. "Is there anybody else up there?" That story, as funny as it is, captures a feeling that almost every person who has ever tried to build something knows deep in their bones. The feeling of holding on so tight, of being stuck between where you are and where you want to go, terrified that if you let go, everything will come crashing down. Today, we're going to talk about a book that has become a secret weapon for hundreds of thousands of business owners around the world who felt just like that man on the vine. It's called Traction, Get a Grip on Your Business, by Gino Wickman. This isn't just another business book filled with complicated theories. It's a simple, practical, and powerful system that has helped companies of all sizes stop spinning their wheels and finally start moving forward. My promise to you today is this: whether you're dreaming of starting your own company one day, leading a team, or even just trying to get a better handle on your own life and projects, the lessons in this book will give you a blueprint. By the end of our time together, you'll understand the 6 simple keys to transforming chaos into clarity, and you'll have a roadmap for gaining real, meaningful traction on the things that matter most to you. So, let's begin. Book summary. Most entrepreneurs start their businesses with a fire in their belly. They have a great idea, a passion, and an incredible amount of willpower. And for a while, that's enough. They work 80-hour weeks, they do everything themselves, and through sheer force, they build something successful. But then, something happens. They hit a wall. A ceiling. It feels like no matter how hard they work, the business just won't grow. In fact, it feels like the business is now controlling them. They're frustrated with their employees, who don't seem to be on the same page. There's never enough profit. And nothing they try, no new strategy, no flavor of the month management trend, seems to work for long. They feel like that man on the vine, stuck, exhausted, and holding on for dear life. This is the exact problem Gino Wickman set out to solve. After turning around his own family's business and working with over 100 other companies, he noticed a pattern. The successful, frustration-free businesses weren't run by superheroes. They were run by ordinary people who had mastered a handful of simple, timeless principles. They had a system. Wickman calls this system the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or EOS. And it's built on the simple idea that to get a grip on your business, you only need to strengthen 6 key components. If you can make these 6 areas just 80% strong, all of those frustrations, the lack of control, the people problems, the profit issues, they all just disappear. So what are these 6 components? Think of them as parts of a wheel. If any part is weak, the wheel wobbles. But when all 6 are strong, the wheel spins smoothly and powerfully, gaining traction. The first, and perhaps most important component, is vision. Wickman tells us that most leaders have a clear vision in their own heads, but they make the mistake of thinking everyone else sees it too. The reality? If you ask 10 employees what the company's vision is, you'd probably get 10 different answers. Some people are rowing left, some are rowing right, and a few probably aren't rowing at all. Vision without everyone on the same page isn't a vision, it's a hallucination. To fix this, EOS uses a simple tool called the Vision/Traction Organizer, or V/2. It forces you to get the vision out of your head and onto a simple, 2-page document by answering 8 questions. You start by defining your core values. These aren't just nice-sounding words you hang on a wall. They are the handful of timeless, guiding principles that define your culture. Who are you, really? When you're clear on your values, you attract people who share them and repel those who don't. Next, you define your core focus. This is your why. Why does your organization exist? What is your purpose, cause, or passion? And what is your niche? What is the one thing you do better than anyone else? An old story called Acres of Diamonds tells of a farmer who sells his land to search the world for riches, only for the new owner to discover that the farm was covered in diamonds all along. Your core focus is your diamond mine. You must find it and stay focused on it, ignoring all the shiny stuff that can distract you. With that foundation, you set a 10-year target. A big, hairy, audacious goal that points everyone in the same long-range direction. From there, you paint a 3-year picture of what the company will look like, and then bring it down to a 1-year plan with specific, measurable goals. Finally, you define your marketing strategy. This is where you get crystal clear on your ideal customer. There's an old story about a mother, her son, and their donkey. They walk into a village with the boy on the donkey, and the villagers shame them for making the mother walk. So they switch. In the next village, they're shamed for making the young boy walk. So they both get on the donkey. In the third village, they're shamed for overburdening the poor animal. Finally, in desperation, they decide to carry the donkey. As they cross a bridge, they stumble, and the donkey falls into the river and drowns. The moral of the story? If you try to please everyone, you're going to lose well, you get the idea. A clear marketing strategy means knowing who you serve, and just as importantly, who you don't. Once you've answered these questions, you have a clear, simple vision. And the final, critical step? You have to make sure it's shared by all. You have to communicate it over and over again. Wickman says people need to hear a message 7 times before they really hear it for the first time. So, you have a crystal clear vision. Everyone knows where the ship is heading. Now, you need the right crew. This brings us to the second key component, people. This is where one of the most famous mantras in business comes from. You have to get the right people in the right seats. It sounds simple, but what does it actually mean? Wickman gives us a beautifully clear definition. Right people are the ones who share your core values. They just fit. They thrive in your culture. You enjoy being around them. To figure this out, you use a simple tool called the People Analyzer. You list your core values across the top and rate each person on whether they exhibit that value most of the time, some of the time, or rarely. It takes all the emotion and subjectivity out of it and gives you a black and white picture of who the right people really are. But that's only half the battle. You can have the right person, but if they're in the wrong job, they'll struggle, and so will the company. You also need them in the right seat. A right seat means a person is working in a role that aligns with their God-given talents. They are operating in their area of what Wickman, borrowing from another great thinker, calls their unique ability. It's the work they are passionate about and brilliant at. To make sure you have the right seats, you first have to design the right structure. Not a structure based on the people you have, but the structure your business needs to get to the next level. This is done with another powerful tool, the accountability chart. It's not your typical org chart. Instead of just titles, it defines the 5 major roles and responsibilities for each seat in the company. And here's the rule: every seat can only have one owner. When 2 people are accountable, nobody is accountable. When creating this chart, a fascinating dynamic often emerges. Most entrepreneurial companies have two key roles at the top: the visionary and the integrator. The visionary is the founder, the big idea person. They have 10 new ideas a week, 9 of which might be terrible, but that one good one is what keeps the company moving forward. They are great with big relationships and creative problem solving, but they hate the day-to-day details. They live in the future. The integrator, on the other hand, is the person who loves running the day-to-day. They are the master of execution. They manage projects, hold people accountable, and harmoniously integrate all the moving parts of the business. They are the glue that holds it all together. They live in the present. When a visionary and an integrator respect each other's roles and stay in their own lanes, it's like magic. But when they're fighting for control or trying to do each other's jobs, it creates chaos. The accountability chart makes these roles crystal clear. So, once you have the right structure with the right seats, how do you know if a person belongs in a particular seat? You use a simple filter called GWC. The person has to get it, want it, and have the capacity to do it. Get it means they truly understand the role, the culture, and what's expected of them. Want it means they genuinely desire the job and are motivated to do it well. And capacity means they have the mental, physical, and emotional ability to do the job successfully. It has to be a yes on all three. A no on any one means it's the wrong seat. With the vision and people components strong, you have a clear map and a great crew. But how do you know if you're actually on track? This leads to the third component: data. Most entrepreneurs run their businesses on feelings, opinions, and egos. They walk around the office, talk to a few people, and try to get a pulse on how things are going. It's like trying to fly a plane in a thick fog with no instruments. Wickman argues that the best leaders manage by a handful of objective numbers. The key tool here is the scorecard. This isn't a complex financial statement that you get a month after the fact. A scorecard is a simple, weekly report of 5 to 15 numbers that gives you an absolute pulse on the business. These are activity-based numbers, leading indicators that predict future results. For example, instead of just looking at last month's sales, you track the number of sales calls made this week. You know that a certain number of calls leads to a certain number of meetings, which leads to a certain number of sales. By tracking the activity at the front of the pipeline, you can predict the results at the end. When you manage by a scorecard, you take the emotion out of it. The numbers are either on track or they're not. And if they're not, you know you have a problem that needs to be solved. This idea cascades through the entire organization until you reach a point where everyone has a number. Even the receptionist can have a number, like answer the phone by the second ring. When everyone knows the one key metric they are responsible for, it creates incredible clarity and accountability. Charles Schwab, the great industrialist, once visited a steel mill where production was lagging. He asked a worker from the day shift how many batches of steel they had made. 6, the man replied. Schwab took a piece of chalk and wrote a big number 6 on the factory floor. When the night shift came in, they saw the 6 and asked what it meant. The next morning, the 6 had been erased and replaced with a giant 7. The day shift saw the 7 and were determined to show them up. That night, they left behind a massive 10. Soon, that mill was outproducing every other mill in the company. That's the power of giving people a number. It creates clarity, competition, and results. So, with a clear vision, the right people, and objective data, your organization becomes incredibly transparent. There's nowhere to hide. And this transparency naturally smokes out the obstacles that are holding you back. This brings us to the fourth component: issues. Your success as an organization is in direct proportion to your ability to solve your problems. Successful companies don't have fewer problems, they're just better at solving them. Most leadership teams spend their meetings talking in circles. They discuss the same problems over and over again but rarely solve anything for good. Wickman says there are two simple disciplines to fix this: the issues list and the issues solving track. The first step is to create an open and honest culture where people feel safe to identify the real problems without fear. You keep a running list of all the company's issues, big and small. This gets them out of your head and into one place. Then, in your weekly meetings, you use the issues solving track, or IDS. It's a three-step process: identify, discuss, solve. First, you identify the root cause of the issue. The stated problem is rarely the real problem. You have to dig down a few layers. For example, the issue might be customers are complaining about late deliveries, but as you dig, you realize the problem isn't the delivery drivers, it's that the warehouse manager, John, is overwhelmed. But is that the real issue? You dig deeper and realize John just doesn't have the capacity for the job. He's in the wrong seat. That's the real issue. Once the real issue is identified, you discuss it. Everyone gets to say everything they need to say, but they only say it once. More than once is just politicking. You fight for the greater good of the company, not your own department. Finally, you solve it. You come to a conclusion that becomes a concrete action item for someone to complete. In John's case, the solution might be to move him to a different seat where he can succeed and find someone new for the warehouse manager role. It's less important what you decide than that you decide. More is lost by indecision than by wrong decisions. By mastering IDS, your team becomes a powerful problem-solving machine. Now you have a clear vision, the right people, objective data, and a discipline for solving issues. But how do you ensure that you're delivering your product or service consistently and efficiently every single time? That's the fifth component: process. Your processes are your way of doing business. This is often the most neglected component, but it's the secret ingredient to creating a business that is scalable, efficient, and profitable. You can't get to the next level by having all your processes in your head and just winging it. Wickman says you have to document your handful of core processes. This isn't about creating a 500-page manual that no one will ever read. It's about following the 20-80 rule. Document the 20% of the steps that produce 80% of the results. You identify your major processes, like your HR process, your marketing process, your sales process, and your operations process. Then, for each one, you document the major steps with a few bullet points under each. When you do this, you'll uncover all sorts of inefficiencies, steps that are redundant, or things people are doing just because we've always done it that way. It's like the story of the family that always cut the end off the ham before cooking it. When someone finally asked the grandmother why, she replied, "Because my pan was too small." By documenting and simplifying your processes, you create your company's unique way. Once it's documented, the final step is to ensure that it's followed by all. This creates consistency, reduces errors, and makes it easier for managers to manage. It turns your business into a well-oiled machine that can run without you. This brings us to the final, and most crucial, component. You can have the best vision, people, data, issue solving, and processes in the world, but if you don't execute, it's all for nothing. The sixth component is traction. Wickman has a great line: "Vision without traction is merely hallucination." Traction is where the rubber meets the road. It's about bringing discipline and accountability to the organization. He says there are two disciplines required to gain traction: rocks and the meeting pulse. First, rocks. In a business, it's easy to get overwhelmed by the mountain of things that need to be done. To combat this, you create a 90-day world. Every 90 days, the leadership team decides on the 3 to 7 most important priorities for the company for the next quarter. These are your rocks. The idea comes from a famous analogy. Imagine you have a large glass cylinder, and next to it, you have big rocks, some gravel, some sand, and a glass of water. The cylinder is your time. If you pour in the water, sand, and gravel first, the big rocks won't fit. But if you put the big rocks, your highest priorities, in first, the gravel, sand, and water will fill in all the space around them. Your rocks are the most important things you must accomplish to stay on track for your one-year plan. Once the company rocks are set, each person on the leadership team sets their own 3 to 7 individual rocks. This creates incredible focus and alignment throughout the organization. The second part of gaining traction is the meeting pulse. Well-run meetings are the heartbeat of a healthy company. EOS implements a simple, consistent meeting structure. The most important is the weekly Level 10 meeting. It's a 90-minute meeting with the same agenda, on the same day, at the same time, every single week. The agenda is simple and powerful. You start with a quick check-in, then you review your scorecard numbers and your rocks to see if everything is on track. Anything that's off track gets dropped down to an issues list. After a quick review of headlines and to-do items from last week, you spend a full 60 minutes just solving problems using the IDS method. This simple, disciplined meeting pulse keeps everyone in sync, holds people accountable, and ensures that you are constantly solving the issues that are holding you back. And that is the essence of the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's a journey of strengthening these 6 key components: vision, people, data, issues, process, and traction. It's not a quick fix or a silver bullet. It's a way of life for a business. It's a simple system that, when you commit to it, allows you to finally get a grip on your business and get everything you want from it. Commentary. When you step back and look at the Entrepreneurial Operating System, you realize its genius isn't in any single tool, but in how all the pieces fit together. It's a complete, holistic system. Each component reinforces the others, creating a powerful flywheel of progress. A clear vision makes it easier to find the right people. The right people make it easier to hit your data points. Good data makes it easier to spot the real issues. A discipline for solving issues makes it easier to refine your processes. And strong processes make it possible to gain real traction. It all just clicks. What I find most powerful about this book, especially for someone your age, is that these principles aren't just for running a multi-million-dollar company. They're principles for running anything effectively. Think about a big school project you have with a team. What's the first thing you need? A clear vision. Everyone needs to agree on what an A+ looks like and what the final project should be. That's your V/2. Next, you need the right people in the right seats. Is the person who loves research doing the research? Is the person who is a great speaker doing the presentation? That's GWC. How will you track your progress? That's your data. Maybe you have a weekly scorecard with metrics like % of research complete or number of slides finished. What happens when someone isn't pulling their weight, or you disagree on the direction? You'll have issues. You need a way to IDS them, to identify the real problem, discuss it openly, and solve it so you can move forward. What's your process for working together? Who does what, and by when? How do you combine your work? And finally, what's your traction plan? What are the 3 biggest rocks you need to accomplish this week to stay on track? And will you have a quick, weekly Level 10 check-in to make sure it's all happening? You see, it's a universal system for turning chaos into order and getting things done. The other beautiful lesson here is about the journey itself. Near the end of the book, Gino Wickman tells the story of the road to Hana in Maui. It's a long, winding road with breathtaking waterfalls and incredible views. The town of Hana itself, at the end of the road, is tiny and unremarkable. People who race to the end, expecting some grand destination, are often disappointed. They miss the point. The beauty was in the journey, not the destination. Building a business, leading a team, or even just building your own life is the same. The goal isn't just to arrive at some far-off destination of success. The joy and the meaning come from the process, from solving the problems, from working with great people, from seeing yourself get a little bit better every day. It's about the journey. That was a summary of Traction: Get a Grip on Your Business by Gino Wickman. We've explored the core ideas today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary is like looking at a picture of a great meal. You can see what's in it, but you can't taste it. The real flavor, the real impact, comes from reading the book yourself. It's in the quiet moments when a particular story or a simple phrase connects with a problem you're facing in your own life. This summary is designed to give you a map of the territory. If anything we've talked about today has sparked your curiosity or made you think, "I need that," then I encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning. It's an experience that can genuinely change how you approach your work, your goals, and your life. The link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please take a moment to click that subscribe button. It lets me know that we're on the right path together. Each week, we explore another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf, and I'd be honored to have you join us for the next one. Let's keep growing together.